Hello, and welcome to How Not to Draft. Again, I'm here today with some Modern Masters, and in about 30 seconds' time, I'm going to be forcing Dredge. Why am I forcing Dredge? Because it's really, really good. That's why. I'm talking a bit quietly because it's 5:30 in the morning. I don't want to disturb my housemates. I've been drafting this deck all night. I think it's fabulous. It's really open, really easy to draft, and I'm gonna walk you guys through it. It's super good fun as well. If you want a game with consistent 10 worms every turn, that's our goal for today. 10 worms a turn until we win the game. Modern Masters is a format I've been really enjoying, actually. It's it's a bit obvious. Kind of the archetypes are very much spelled out to you, but that's fine because it's not very new player friendly. It's got a lot of old cards from the past, and I'm already looking forward to Modern Masters 2, which I'm sure they'll do. At some point, 3 years' time, Zendikar through Innistrad, they'll find a load more synergies in that. Normally, of course, I wouldn't recommend forcing in Limited. You really should look for what's open, pick what you open, rather than attempting to force any particular archetype. But this is just kind of an experiment in showing off stuff to you guys, really. And I want to show off this deck because I think it's lovely. So pack 1 here, we've opened. There's some good cards in this pack. There's a Riftbolt and a Bound in Silence as 2 great removal spells. Stir the Pride as a brilliant sort of overrun type thing. Ivory Giant, great card in Giants. A couple of good Fairies cards. Our pick here is going to be Maelstrom Pulse. Not strictly speaking a Dredge card, not a Retrace card either. You could call the deck I'm going to draft a Retrace deck. You'd be wrong. It's a Dredge deck, obviously. But crucially, Maelstrom Pulse is a black-green premium removal spell, which are fairly high picks for the deck. Like if there was a Worm Harvest here, I'd take the Worm Harvest over it, because you take Worm Harvest over everything in this archetype. But Maelstrom Pulse is definitely the top of the removal list that I want. And here we have the option of Moldavine Cloak, Absorb This, which is useful for mana fixing, Siphon Life, which will probably wheel, but is a great retrace spell, and Cold-Eyed Selkie, which is a way to create card advantage. I'm actually leaning towards the Cloak. Last time I built this deck, I ended up a little short of cards with the word Dredge on them. And Moldavine Cloak is one of the better ones because it's playable just in a beats deck. Moldavine Cloak goes great with the Selkie, and I do like the Selkie against any deck that's blue. It's just this source of constant card advantage. It's fantastic. And Siphon Life is probably more important to you than the Cloak in this deck. The Siphon Life I've been underwhelmed by, though, usually. Usually you've got better things to be retracing if you're in retrace mode than kind of a 4-point life swing doesn't actually do very much. It just provides an opportunity to do something. And normally you're not short of things to do. Like you're busy, I will not, I'm a better person than that, I'm a better person than that. There's a Bridge from Below in this pack. Let's read this card together, shall we? Whenever a non-turn creature is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, if it's in your graveyard, make a zombie. And if a creature is put into the opponent's graveyard from the battlefield, if it's in your graveyard, exile it. So I need to have creatures in play and a way to sacrifice them, and not have my opponent losing creatures whilst this is happening, and that in my graveyard. And in exchange for that, I get a couple of zombies. I really want to see if I can make that work. It'll probably wheel. I'm going to take Rift Sweeper, just as a fine 2-2. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if none of the cards in this pack end up making our deck, just because our deck's going to end up very land-heavy, as is the nature of the deck I want to build. Which is fine, like Mon Masters, every card is very playable. So, slamming Dagmor Salvage here. Even if you end up with... So this deck ends up with a load of playables just being cut from the deck and ends up with a really expansive sideboard. I'm looking at Dagmor Salvage and thinking, what's the chance that wheels? Because I'd like to take a Sen's Enlistment here. Because if you don't get a Worm Harvest, Sen's Enlistment is the card you want. It's like Worm Harvest. It's much better to cast from your hand than Worm Harvest. But at the end of the day, this deck can't function without a Dagmor Salvage or two. And it can function without a Sen's Enlistment or two. Drag Down's fine in this deck. Termorphic Expanse is great mana fixing, same with Silver Bounty. But I will slam my Dredging Land. Still no sign of the elusive Harvest, not a problem. I'm kind of keen to try Reach the Barges in this deck, just because, it comes back to your hand after you dredge it away. But here I think I'm probably taking Raven's Crime or Deep Cavern Imp. Raven's Crime again goes pretty late, but is also pretty necessary. Sporoth Ancient is a fine, but I think if I was taking a 5-drop, I'd rather take the slightly more defensive one, just because you don't need a beatdown 4/4 in this deck. We're winning with a million worms. So I'll take Raven's Crime. It's very important to be able to go turn 1 Raven's Crime, turn 2 Raven's Crime, discarding Dagmor Salvage. Just obliterate their hand as soon as possible. Packs like this. Packs like this. Probably not playing whatever we take here. Leaning towards the Death Denied, just because if you do dredge a load of creatures into your graveyard, you Death Denied them all back, value. It's really more of a Fairies card, Death Denied. I suppose I could take Sculler. Like, if I end up splashing white, Sculler, like Raven's Crime, helps us decimate their hand. And it, it's a dude. So yeah, I'm going to take the Sculler here. Just because I think this deck often splashes white, and taking the Moss Dog here over the Enlistment again. See, Enlistment goes quite late. There is a chance the other one will wheel. Well, that is a really late killer, and quite a late Latchkey Fairy. Like, I've first picked both of these cards before, I discovered the best deck in the format. Yeah, no, Enlistment goes quite late, and like I said with Moldavine Cloak, getting those dredge cards with the word dredge on them, is super important. Like, I can focus on Retrace a little bit later. Don't tempt me, Frodo. Luckily, this is a Phantom Q, so Foil Progenitors means nothing to us. Probably taking Absorb this. Like, I like the idea of Echoing Courage in this deck a lot. Oh, my worms are now all 3/3s. But in reality, you just don't need them to be 3/3s. Like, they're big enough already, because there's 20 of them, and they're getting into the red zone. So taking the really convenient mana fixing is much more important. I don't think there was anything we were expecting to wheel out of this pack. This is what we first picked Maelstrom Pulse from. So I'm probably just going to grab Festering Goblin here as kind of a dude. A little surprised to see Ivory Giant still in the pack. And both the Fairies cards. Fairies has gone from being like the most overdrafted thing imaginable to just no one's after anymore. As expected, Siphon Life wheeled, as did the Absorb this, but at this point I definitely want Siphon Life more. Currently I don't have a win condition. I've got 2 packs left to find Worm Harvest, or some Sen's Enlistments. But Siphon Life works as kind of a... Okay, I'm going to take Bridge from Below here. I don't think I'm going to end up playing it, but on the off chance that I find a way to break this card, I don't want to pass up on that opportunity. Turn 1 Raven's Crime, target myself, discard Bridge from Below. Oh, just picturing that makes me smile. Shame the Sen's Enlistment didn't wheel, but I'll happily take Drag Down. Blightspeaker's going awfully late, don't have anything to search up with it. Vivid Creek is an interesting one. I'm actually going to take the Vivid Land here. This deck is blue more often than it wants. That's the Rebel you can sometimes end up playing. More often than it wants a Drag Down, I think. And just having that extra bit of fixing that I might need is going to be quite important. Death Denied, a fine late pickup. I will see you guys for pack 2.